Welcome to the Empowered Catholic Podcast with Karen and Curtis Herbert, where we combine the best of theology, science, and coaching to inspire your empowerment. It's our mission to help you release the inner obstacles that are holding you back from embracing true Christian freedom, so the power of the Holy Spirit can manifest in you. So if you believe that God has more for you, if you want to believe that God has more for you, listen on, my friend. Hello, and welcome to the Empowered Catholic Podcast. You are here with Karen and Curtis Herbert.
Hi, everybody.
And we hope that you are having a lovely day today. Today, we would like to kick off a new season and introduce you to a new theme that we would like to talk to you about. We have noticed with many of our clients and in many of the situations we find ourselves in that there are certain models of understanding that have become helpful to utilize to both increase awareness, to increase understanding of our own behavior and how we're interacting with others. They also help us navigate through situations that, take a little bit of skill and a little bit of concern and intentionality to work through.
Absolutely. When something's happening and you're trying to figure it all out, having some idea of the bigger picture of the situation and how these things go is so helpful. I mean, if you were going to sell your house, it's really helpful to know something about how the real estate market works and the dynamics of negotiation and how regulation plays into that. And that way, as you start to go through the process, you'll be able to respond in a more thoughtful way.
Exactly. And what I like about models is they just give us a little clarity and organization about how to think about a situation or an event that's happening. The thing about models is there's a lot of them. So a model is basically someone has come across some helpful information and they've organized it in a way that they can teach you about it in a somewhat less complicated way, but a way that's going to help you know what's going on and help you choose how you want to engage.
That's right. And models can be very helpful. At the same time, there's a risk of getting a little carried away. When you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. So people who are really into their models, it's like, boy, that's the model. And everything gets shoved into the model. And I will say that's not our approach, Curtis, to models. We like to know about a lot of different ones and then figure out which application is going to be most helpful. What is the most relevant way to think about the thing that we're looking at right now?
And because they're so massively useful, we'd like to spend this season of the Empowered Catholic Podcast talking about some of the very best models, some of the most useful and insightful models that we've been introduced to and that we use.
Excellent. I'm super excited about this. And obviously, we'll just be introducing our listeners to the model, but I think each of you who's listening, you will gain some insight, and hopefully if things are landing for you, you will be intrigued enough to learn more.
And the first model we're going to talk about is conflict.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
One of many conflict models. Don't make me go there.
Don't make me have conflict. I want it to go away. And you hope it goes away, but does it go away?
Bummer.
No.
If you ignore it, it just doesn't always go away.
Mostly it comes back bigger and badder than it ever was. And here's a great model. This is the Thomas and Kilman conflict resolution styles model. And that's a mouthful. It's the results of studies going back to the 70s. This is a very old model. It's been used in lots of places, lots of boardrooms and businesses and everything else. It's very useful.
So let me give our listeners the short summary of how this works, Curtis. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Okay. So basically what Thomas and Kilman did was say, there's a couple continuums at work when you're having a disagreement. And basically conflict is just, we have some differing opinions about what needs to happen or what should happen or whose concerns are really front and center here. And so there's two continuums. On one continuum is how high is my concern for my own agenda and what I want to see happen here. And if it's super high, then I'm going to be really assertive. That's what Thomas and Kilman call it. When I have a high amount of concern for the thing I want to see happen, that's assertiveness. And the other continuum is having a concern for somebody else's agenda and what they want to see happen. And I can be from low to high on that continuum as well. Thomas and Kilman will call that cooperativeness. So how much is the person involved wanting to satisfy their own concerns, and how much are they wanting to satisfy somebody else's? So there's these two dimensions of assertiveness and cooperativeness. And really, based on where people fall in those continuums is what their style of conflict is going to be.
So here's one concept already is I can have varying levels of assertiveness in how much I want my thing, maybe a little bit, maybe a lot. And simultaneously, I can have a certain amount of concern for you getting your thing. And I might be, I don't care at all if you get your thing. Or it may be that I really want you to get your thing. So those two continuums, as you call them, are happening at the same time. A first style of conflict that you might be familiar with is
defending.
It's competition.
Okay.
In this competition, I am very concerned about what I want and getting my agenda. And for you, not so much. It's kind of whatever. And I am here. I am competing to get the results I want in this conflict.
So something's really important to you. Maybe you're defending a position you really believe in, or you're standing up for your rights, or you're trying to win for some reason or another. And maybe you're going to draw on whatever power or influence you have to get the thing that you want or you believe strongly in. Would that be accurate?
Exactly. And the law is usually competitive. By the time the lawyers are involved and there's a judge lurking somewhere in the future, it's all about competing to see who's going to get the biggest piece of the pie or lose the least, something like that. So that's competition.
Sure. It's kind of hard to be in that niche environment if you're not comfortable with this particular conflict style.
Well, that's right. And it is in direct contrast with accommodation. When I am in accommodation mode, I am not so worried about my agenda because I am making it all about you getting what you want.
Sure. So it's not very assertive, but probably high on cooperative and having that interest in seeing the concerns of the other person being met.
Yeah. And in its extreme form, it's simply rolling over.
Right.
I'm going to give you whatever you want. I'm extremely accommodating. I'm not worried about what I want. I am interested in giving you whatever it is you want.
So there's some element here of self-sacrifice or generosity or really setting your sights on what someone else believes is really important.
Well, that's right. And it is a conflict style. A conflict is a situation where there's disagreement over something that isn't immediately resolvable.
Right. I think that's a really important point, Curtis, is that these are styles that we choose to engage with, and our actions are going to reflect them. And I think sometimes as Christians, we want to put labels on certain conflict styles, like, oh, well, competition is bad because it's selfish and it's all about you. But, accommodation, that's good because it's selfless and self-sacrificing. And I think those labels can really get in the way from understanding the model, because ultimately some styles are going to be more appropriate in certain situations and other styles are going to be more relevant in other situations.
That's right. And it's easier to be nice when you're accommodating. Everybody likes you.
Right.
And it can feel pretty good, and feelings aren't getting ruffled, and it's all really great. Yet there is a price to be paid for accommodation, as I think we all know.
Yeah.
Simply rolling over is sometimes it's a great choice, but when it becomes our preferred style of dealing with conflict, then after a while it leaves us kind of empty, pretty flat.
Right. Yeah. And this actually makes me think of something that I think is true about most models. I think in most models I come across, part of what they're trying to communicate is it's really great if you have some flexibility in how you can approach a situation. And we tend to think, well, XYZ is just my personality, so that's just what I do. Or, well, this is my default conflict mode, and so I should just keep defaulting to that, and then things should work out for me. Whereas a lot of models are like, look, these are different ways of approaching things, and having the capacity to choose the best thing for you in a certain situation is super freeing. And it just opens up a lot of possibilities in life.
That's right. And another style of handling conflict is avoidance.
Ooh, my favorite.
And on the continuum, this is me not acting in a way that shows a lot of concern for whatever it is I want. And similarly, I'm not too worried about what it is you want either, because I'm just letting this situation simmer.
Right.
There's nothing is happening really.
Really. And nobody is going to get anything that they want. I do think one thing to point out here is that I can feel like I have a lot of concern for something and also be avoiding. So we say lack of concern. Really what we're saying is I'm not engaging with something. I'm not acting in a way that shows concern. So when I avoid something, kind of what I'm saying through my action is, well, I don't really care about what you want because I'm just avoiding it. And I don't really care about what I want because I'm avoiding it. But internally, I might have a lot going on emotionally about things that are important to me.
Well, that's right. With avoidance, I might be hoping for a certain outcome, but I'm avoiding doing what's needed to address the conflict. And perhaps I'm just hoping that kind of the circumstances will create the outcome that I want.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes avoiding is sidestepping an issue. Sometimes it's postponing it. It could also be just withdrawing. It's just anything where I'm not going to take any action to address or confront the issue directly. And this is a very common default approach that we can have. Maybe we don't avoid all the time, but I think a lot of us have situations or types of situations in relationships where we default to avoidance. Now, kind of the opposite of avoidance is what we're going to call collaborating. It's both assertive and cooperative. It's very interested in my concerns, and it's very interested in the concerns of the other party or group that I'm dealing with. And it's generally involves a very intentional attempt to work with others to find some solution that's going to satisfy everybody's concerns. Collaboration is like the win-win intentionality. And it's going to take some time and effort to dig into all the concerns, to pinpoint them, to brainstorm potential solutions, to really meet everybody's underlying needs and desires. But generally, collaboration has the most effective result for everybody involved.
And it's going to get the most buy-in and get the most powerful action once everybody really has something that they want to get by moving forward together.
Yeah. The tricky part is, I'm thinking about the law example, Curtis, is that really you can't collaborate with someone who refuses to collaborate with you, because you can't get a win-win when somebody's not willing to work with you and negotiate.
It's true. Collaboration is not always possible. Often it is possible if you kind of have the tools to draw out what's important to all the parties, including your own. What is it that's really going to serve you in the situation? And then once those concerns are out on the table, often something that helps everybody can be identified.
Yes. I do think the research shows that people don't always try to get the win-win with collaboration as often as they could, and as often as they could get a bigger benefit and a better result for everybody. Because probably we have these other default styles that we just opt into on the subconscious level.
Well, that's right. And the fifth major style of conflict is compromise. And so there you are, there I am. Let's just split it down the middle and move on.
Sure. So nobody really gets what they want, but nobody really loses either.
That's right. In a lot of ways, I guess you're dealing with it, but you're perhaps not dealing with whatever underlying causes of the conflict were. You aren't addressing those. Instead, you're simply splitting it down the middle and moving on.
So nobody really wins, but nobody really loses either.
Right.
Yeah. I think this is maybe one of the really common things that we do is we think we're collaborating, but really we're compromising.
How about an example?
Uh-oh.
Are you ready?
I don't know. Depends what your example is.
Well, Karen, I'm going to remodel the kitchen, and I'm happy to let you pick the color of the tile or whatever and the countertop.
Okay.
And the rest of it, I kind of have gotten pretty good at this remodeling stuff, and I'm going to get it done. And it's really going to help me if you get out of the way.
Okay. So you have some ideas about what you want.
Yeah, I know what to
do.
do, and you're going to have plenty of input because you're going to get to do the tile and the countertop.
Okay.
So I think we're good.
Okay.
Now that, my friends, that's a pretty competitive style, I think, of managing what I don't even realize is a conflict yet.
Yeah, it actually made me really uncomfortable when you started saying things like, just don't worry, honey. You can pick this out, but I'm going to take care of the kitchen.
See all the choices you have?
This is why I never want to ever remodel my kitchen, frankly. It's because I can't imagine this process. But I can imagine somebody just being like, look, we're going to do it this way. And I'm going to stick to my guns and I'm going to get my way on the whatever, on the cabinets, on the flooring, on the colors or whatever. And I could also imagine someone just being like, okay, whatever. You know, maybe the guy is more like, whatever, I'll just let you do the whole thing.
The accommodation style. So she gets the idea, we're going to remodel this kitchen, and she starts making it happen, and he's rolling over.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe he really doesn't care, has absolutely
Yeah.
no concern, doesn't want to be involved, in
Yeah.
which case there is no conflict, I don't think, because
That's
they're all
competition.
happy.
Or more of an avoidance situation would be we're looking at the kitchen and we realize, oh, there's going to be a lot of conflict. Because
Yeah.
I know enough about what's happening here to know that, well, one of us is going to want all kinds of big changes and finally get that kitchen going the right way. The other one's going to not want to spend any money at all.
There's going to be some disagreements. Or
And
you could go down that road and start to be like, oh boy, this is a subject to avoid because I don't even want to go there.
yeah, so have some avoidance.
Right.
And that could be some unresolved tension in
Yeah.
that couple's relationship.
Yeah.
Not ours, I'm sure.
Yeah. Or we could, have some big compromise session where nobody's really going to end up being happy with the kitchen, but no one's going to hate it either.
Everybody gets something they want
Yeah.
and something they don't want.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to be. Then we can enjoy looking at that kitchen and each other for as long as we're here.
Yes. Or you could undertake a more challenging process of collaboration where you're really laying out on the table all of your concerns and all of your boundaries, right? And you're hashing through, okay, how can we get the real changes, the most important changes that we want on this kind of a budget, and what are we willing to do to make that happen?
And that's an approach that it could bring up a lot of things. It might bring up some of the bigger budget issues in that marriage. There may be other projects that are important to one or more of them. And all of a sudden you're collaborating and it requires working through a longer duration, perhaps, of discomfort as you think about, well, what all is actually involved here.
Right.
Yet, as you work in a collaborative way, pretty soon you hope you're going to come to a place where, yeah, people are working together and everybody's contributing and getting what they want.
Mm-hmm.
So the kitchen remodel, that's sort of an interesting example to use.
Well, I think things like that bring up a lot of latent patterns of interaction, right? Like you could get to a certain point in the kitchen remodel and realize, well, so-and-so's accommodating, but they're really grumpy and unhappy. And you realize, well, they haven't been very assertive about how they actually do feel or what they actually do want. And that's a time where some assertiveness is probably called for.
Absolutely. And this starts to touch on another fact, which is that we do tend to have a default style of conflict. And then we have, when that's not working, we tend to have a
Right.
second one that we go to.
Yeah.
One popular combination is avoid, blow up, and compete.
Yeah.
I'm avoiding the situation. You're bugging me about it. I'm just saying whatever, do whatever. I'm sure it'll be fine. And then you get going, and I am not happy, and I blow up over the whole thing. So that's very popular style.
That is. Or compete, and then you sort of diffuse at some point and just throw up your hands and give up.
Yeah,
I
take your
give up,
ball and go
whatever.
home.
Yeah, exactly.
Fine.
Yeah. And I do think there's some default sometimes to compromising when everybody could get a little bit more out of the whole thing.
It's true. And one of the textbooks that we studied as we studied this conflict style, it had this great example of the architectural team and the build it in the field team that worked in the same company.
That is a conflict combination right there.
Well, it really was. It's sort of like being the software salesman and the software programming person. It's a situation ripe for conflict.
Yeah.
And in the architect builder scenario, really collaboration was critical for them because they both had a piece of the puzzle that the other didn't have. The people building it understood the supply chain a little better, what needed to happen in the field, what things actually worked. And of course, the architect team understood what the client wanted and how to create the product. Yet when the builders just shrugged their shoulders and built the thing the way it was spec'd out, even when they knew it wasn't really that great, everybody lost. The company lost. The client lost.
So anyway, we just want to give you a summary here of this model. We have found it really helpful with clients just to build awareness. Like, okay, I'm feeling uncomfortable when I'm having this disagreement. It's probably a conflict. What am I defaulting to here? What's my automatic pattern in this conflict? Where am I going? And if I look at these, right, high assertiveness, competition, accommodation, avoidance, compromise, collaboration, what would any of these really look like in this situation? And, sometimes you might choose to avoid or choose to accommodate, and it really depends, but you want to be able to see clearly what your options are and possibilities, and maybe try something new that you haven't tried before.
That's right, Karen. Sometimes it's helpful to know that there's another way, possibly, you could handle a situation besides the way that you've always handled it. And increasing your flexibility in how you communicate, how you negotiate can be so very helpful.
Great. And if you notice you'd like a little support in working through any of those issues, by all means, reach out to us at empoweredcatholics.com, and we can share with you what coaching is all about.
Thank you for being here with us this week. Visit our website at empoweredcatholics.com to learn more about us. And remember, as Pope Francis says, God comes to break open everything that keeps you closed in.